I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester's entrepreneurs. So welcome today to episode 66. So this week on the podcast, I got to travel outside of my little recording area and visit Garret Sorensen of Mandala Tea. So Garret has a really interesting story. He has a tea company, as the name suggests, and they sell various loose leaf teas and tea accessories. But he started his business in 2005, so he's been running it for about 13 years. And on the podcast, he talks about the evolution of the business over this time period, what he needed to do to keep the business alive and help it to evolve. And he also talks about when he almost gave up on the business not too long ago and how he was able to infuse some new life and vitality into the business. So I got to visit Garret, and he did a special tea service for me. So it was a really cool experience to really understand the product and really get to engage with the tea and have more of an experience than just talking about his product and what his business sells. So you'll hear a little bit of the tea cups clinking and tea being poured in the podcast today, as well as some music that was part of the tea service ceremony. But it was just a fantastic experience. I hope you really enjoy the podcast today, where Garret talks a lot about tea, how it's made, where it comes from, and the evolution of his business over the past 13 years. So before we launch into the podcast today, I just wanted to give a shout out to a sponsor of this podcast, Brandhoot. So Brandhoot is a Rochester company that develops websites and apps that move people forward with a blended approach of strategy, design, and engineering. You can find out more about them at Brandhoot, that's BRANDHOOT.com. So without waiting any further, here is Garret Sorensen and Mandala Tea. Yeah, so I thought usually the best way to start is to just talk about what you're doing here with your tea business. So what is your purpose? What are your products?
What is my purpose? Well, the tea, what I discovered many, many years ago is that the tea is a vehicle, one of the vehicles that helps me to bring myself into a state of calm. I like the meditative aspect of tea, and I like the health aspects of tea, of which there are countless benefits. I like the hydration, but the biggest thing is that despite the fact that it is my business, and that I do sell tea, and the tea is the product that I sell, more what I like to get across is the fact that you can have this experience with this liquid. You can connect with self, or connect with another person or two over the ceremony, over the ritual. It's not that I don't drink tea in large mugs. Sometimes I do. Mm-hmm. This is just my preferred way of doing it. This nice small cups. So. Tea is I came to tea as a business thing when I was a massage therapist for a lot of years. And during my studies of Chinese medicine, I kept coming across things about tea, and my teachers would talk about tea. And so I began serving tea like we're doing here in these small servings, multiple steepings in the small cups. I began serving that to massage clients before their sessions, especially with new folks, as they would come in and we'd get to know one another. How can I serve them? Things like that, what they've got going on, who are they? And during that course of 20 minutes, 30 minutes of serving tea, I'd see half my work be done for me, just in the connection with the tea. By half my work being done, I mean that people come in off the street with their shoulders up around their ears, talking a mile a minute, red in the face, because it's crazy out there in the world, right? And so they'd come in to get their massage, and the tea would, just over that 10 minutes, sometimes their voice would slow down, the cadence would slow down, the voice might drop an octave, and I'd watch the shoulders lower from around their ears, and they'd start relaxing. And so those clients began having this experience and tasting real tea for the first time, real loose leaf tea prepared properly, and they said, how do I do this? How do I get into this?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I get tea? And that's when the idea to begin the tea business was born. So in 2005, I began making inroads into some Chinese connections and began bringing tea here from China and Taiwan.
Awesome. Yeah, I have to say I've never had tea like this. This is the jasmine that we were...
This is the Dragon Pearls, which is a hand-rolled green tea scented with fresh jasmine petals. Not sprayed with jasmine oils like a lot of the inexpensive green jasmine tea is, but rather literally imbued with the scent of the jasmine petal. So steeping after steeping. By steeping, I mean how many times we put hot water over it and let the water sit in or with the leaf. And this tea, I will often steep 10 to 15 times before I'm done with it.
Okay. So
we'll
it's
see
a process.
How far we get.
It's a process. Yeah, I should say, yeah, I've had your the Imperial Dark.
Mm-hmm.
So I got about 4 different kinds of loose leaf teas. I'm still on the Imperial Dark, but to me it's like nothing I really tasted. It's really like, to me, I taste like a nuttiness in it. Mm-hmm. It's like meaty, and it's incredible, just the flavors that, yeah, because I really haven't gotten into tea before this, so it was always like the bag Lipton tea, which you're probably like, oh, no.
Actually, the Lipton tea in China is pretty good.
Yeah, they demand more.
They sell good Lipton tea there.
So you have 4 different kinds of loose leaf tea, is that right?
4.
White, black.
Oh, yeah, we've got white, yellow,
okay,
green, oolong, sometimes called wulong,
okay,
which translates to black dragon. And then there's what we call black tea. In China, they call red tea,
okay,
or hong cha. And then there's 2 different styles of pu'er. So how many did I just do? 7?
That might have been, 7.
Yeah, 7 types. And the most rare, most people, you can't pick up a magazine about health or mindfulness these days without hearing about white and green tea.
Yeah.
But these teas, they all come from the same plant.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Just differences in the processing of the leaf.
Okay.
Following the picking. Camellia sinensis is the original tea plant. And all tea was originated in the Yunnan province of China.
Okay.
Spread throughout the world because of throughout China and then throughout Asia because of Buddhism and Taoism.
Yeah. So what's the process of from the plant to what we're drinking here? What does the tea go through, or the leaves, the plant, to make this product?
Mm-hmm. And that's going to depend on the style of tea that they're going for. In the case of white tea, white's the least process of the leaf, typically picked quite young. It's called white tea not because the liquor is the tea liquor itself is pale, and it's not because the leaves are white, but rather it's because of the young buds. Just like here in the winter, just at the end of winter, as you look at the trees and the buds are starting to come out, you see the buds have all these silvery little hairs. They look kind of shiny. Well, it's the same with the white tea. White tea, the young leaves and the young buds have these silvery hairs on them. So, rough translation would be to call it white tea. And you'll sometimes hear it called silver as well, but white tea. So that leaf would be picked, the leaf and the bud would be picked, and then withered for just a bit to let some of the flavors meld a little bit, and then it'll usually just be sun-dried or air-dried. No extra processing. You get to green tea and you get the same initial process, but before the tea is dried, it's going to be pan-fired sometimes. You might see some that are baked a little bit or roasted a little bit. So that roasting and the pan-firing stops the enzymatic action. So and then seals in the flavors, and then you buy the tea as green tea, and then you get into oolong and you get a bruised leaf. You bruise the leaves to continue some oxidation of the leaf prior to it being fired and dried. And you get green oolongs And you get very dark oolongs depending on how long you oxidize it.
Yeah, I've had the very dark oolong tea before. I really like that kind.
And the only difference between then oolong and what we call black tea is that the black tea is fully oxidized, oxidized all the way. And pu'er tea, well, that's a whole different other world of tea that you'll see where the teas are made to be aged like wine. You were speaking earlier about the Imperial Dark,
yeah.
which is a black style pu'er. That's a recent invention in the world of tea, early 1970s. The original pu'er tea, named after the village where it began, the leaf does a little bit of they would pick the leaf, and then it goes through what's called shaching, which is where they put the leaf in a wok and they fire the leaves to stop most of the enzymatic action from happening. So there's going to be, after they do that, then they will put that in the sun and it'll sun dry. So there's slight, slow oxidation occurring within the leaf, and that at that point it's called maucha, or unfinished tea. Then once it's steamed and pressed into bricks or cakes, like you see around here, these are all bricks of tea and cakes of tea. Once it's steamed and pressed, now the tea is ready to sit and do its thing. It's going to oxidize and ferment within that cake if it's stored properly.
How long does that process take?
Some people won't touch them until they're at least 20 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But you can drink it immediately. But flavors will change, aromas will change, the energy of the tea, how it affects the body will change over the decades as well.
So just like a wine or a whiskey or something.
Yes.
But better for you than
Yeah,
whiskey.
except hydrating.
Some people would argue that, but
Yeah. Well, you got your detox and your retox.
yeah.
You got to balance everything, I suppose.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about proper tea service? So what does that entail? And, compared to those of us who dunk our Lipton bag in our huge mug.
A lot of times people see me doing this process of the short steepings and the rinsing of the leaves and the warming of the cups, and they think, wow, if this is tea, I don't have time for that. Or, boy, that looks like too much to remember, too much to do. What it really comes down to is something a Japanese tea master called Senrikyu said. He said, tea is not but this. First you heat the water, then you make the tea, then you drink it properly. That's all you need to know. And I like what he said there, because here's the guy, Senrikyu is the father of the Japanese tea ceremony, which takes years to study and hours to practice.
Wow.
Yeah, before you even get to touch the tea gear, when you're studying Japanese tea ceremony, you will have studied for a long time under a meditation master. His whole thing was, if we can take something every day and mundane like tea and turn it into a meditative experience, then we will also see that the other things in our life that we do that are everyday and mundane can also become a mindful practice, right? Doing the dishes, walking the dog, talking to a friend, everything can be more here now. We're not 10 minutes back there, we're not 30 minutes up ahead, we're right here, right now. So the practice of tea is really very simple. The leaf in whatever you're going to brew it in, and amounts of tea, that's going to vary depending on the leaf. A lot of people will experiment with the amount of leaf. That's what I encourage people to do. This life's one big experiment, right? Tweak variables, check outcomes, and see what you like, and be prepared to be delighted, and sometimes not so delighted. You might make it one time a little too strong, and it might be a little much, but still to enjoy that outcome too. So the basic process of making the tea is to put the leaf into whatever you're going to be brewing it in. And then I usually do a rinse where I warm the leaf. You saw me do that earlier, where I poured, in the case of green tea, I'm using water temperature of about 175 degrees. I'm pouring that over the leaf, and then after about 5 seconds, I'm dumping that out. That's to warm the tea, that's to prime it, that's to, especially on a cold winter morning, if the house is cold, if I pour 175 degree water over cold tea in a cold brewing vessel, my water temperature is going to drop about 40 degrees, 50 degrees right off the bat. So it's especially important with those more processed leaves that are going to use higher water temperatures, like the pu'er tea you were talking about earlier. I need full boiling water for that. So if I pour that in the cold gear and my temperature's dropping 50 degrees right there, it's not going to coax the flavor out as readily. So then I do that rinse, and I like to smell. I like to smell the leaf after I do the rinse and see what the rinse woke up as far as the aroma. And sometimes I'll sit, if I have the time, and I'll just pay attention to the change of the aroma as the leaf cools a little bit and begins to open up slightly. This leaf was very tightly rolled, and we can see now that it's opening up. And so then I do my first steep, and it's going to, by steep, some people say the word infusion. I will sometimes start with a 15 to 20 second infusion. If I'm going for a stronger cup, and depending on the leaf that I'm brewing, I might do a 8 to 10 minute infusion, especially with white teas. I might go longer. So there's a few basic guidelines. I don't call them rules because everyone's idea of what they like is different as they begin to experiment. And it's lifelong. I'm still learning. And I've been into tea since 5th grade. So, yes, and then once it's steeped to your parameters, you pour that off into cups or a serving pitcher if you're serving tea to another person, and see what you get.
Yep, lifestyle experimentation, right?
Sweet
But
variables,
no, I think it's
outcomes.
like you said, like it's all it is water and leaves.
Yeah.
There's not much else to it.
Right, and the simplest way to do it is what you see a lot of the old timers in China. As a matter of fact, there's a style of brewing affectionately referred to there as grandpa style. And a lot of the places that I go in China, they'll just hand me a mug or a glass. They'll just put the leaf into there and add the hot water. One can choose to wait for the leaves to sink all the way to the bottom, so they don't have to worry about getting the leaf in their teeth and in their mouth. Or you can begin sipping sooner and just kind of work your way around the leaf that's floating in the glass. And so one would drink until the leaf is still covered in water, and that is called seed tea. And now we add more water to that, so you can just keep working the same leaf like that for hours.
Interesting.
Yeah, till you're done.
So you said you've been with Mandala Tea since 2006, so that's about 13 years now.
Yeah, 2005 was the
2005
was the first few pounds I brought in, and I was sending people away. They would buy tea, and they would walk out of my office with a little baggie filled with green leafy substance, and because I didn't have labels or anything like that, and I just advised them, if you get pulled over, just don't have it on your front seat. But yeah, and then in 2007, when Sarah Crawford and I began the Mandala Center for Wellness together, is when the tea business became Mandala Tea. So for the first 2 years, it was just me in my wellness practice selling the tea, and then it became Mandala Tea in 2007, and then we brought the business here to Rochester in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a natural evolution of doing tea as a business, from your physical therapy work to now is this your full-time thing, is the Mandala Tea?
Oh yes, it's plenty full-time. However, I still have a deep love for massage therapy.
Or massage therapy, sorry.
I still do some of that, and I still do I play music as well. I like to keep a lot of things going. Oh, and I still sell far infrared sauna equipment.
Okay.
So, yeah, tea is definitely my main my main jam right now.
So do you go frequently to parts of China or elsewhere to, I don't know, to taste the tea, see what you're going to bring into your business? What does that kind of process look like?
Yes, I would love to be able to go to China far more often. However, I need weeks at a time to go.
Yeah, I suppose.
And because you can't just go for a weekend. Luckily, over the years of going there and then working with different suppliers and growers, is that I've gotten connected. And so I get sent a lot of samples, a lot of different teas to try and see what I want to bring into the product mix. China, probably in April, again this April, I'll go and I will meet up with some of my new connections that I've made in the last couple of years, get together with some of my older connections, and travel around to some of the tea farms. It's really important to me where the tea is grown. It's one thing for a grower to grow organically or not use sprays. It's another thing if the tea is grown in an area that is in the shadow of factory cities or even the very large cities there. I don't like tea from those areas. So there's certain famous teas that people say, hey, how come you don't have this? Well, because when I visited there in 2012, I couldn't breathe. So knowing that that tea is sitting in that particulate matter and that dirty air all the time, and the soil's soaking that up and the plants are soaking that up, I don't source teas from those areas. China's a huge country. There's so much pristine area there that we hear about some of the
smoggier areas. Yeah,
and that's in the scheme of things, it's no different than here in the United States.
Exactly.
You get areas that are just more polluted, and if any country's going to green up faster than anyone else in this world, it's going to be China. They're going to be the country that's going to get green the fastest, and get back to a cleaner life. Well, they're at a crisis point in some ways, so.
Yeah, but if you're looking for a holistic product that promotes total body well-being and mental and physical well-being, where it comes from is so important. And I think we get away from that a lot, not knowing where our food comes from and what we're putting into our bodies, what it really is about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. If I'm going to drink this stuff all day long, I want it to be healthy, and I want it to be healthy for my customers too. We sell all around the world because of our online business and then our wholesale business too. So.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that because Western culture, particularly even the Midwest, is really coffee heavy, at least in my opinion. So, kind of what was that like to introduce tea to Americans, Midwesterners? How do you gain those kind of customers and bring them over to this lifestyle and more tea and healthier things into their bodies than coffee?
Yes. Well, part of what's been helpful is when I mentioned earlier about health magazines and articles, there's more and more information coming out all the time about the health benefits of tea. So a lot of people will come to tea or the idea of tea because they've heard it's supposed to be healthier. And so they'll start getting some El Cheapo tea bags at the grocery store. And sometimes that's all they'll drink. I think, however, that if we're enjoying the experience, that it will be even healthier for us. So case in point, I had a client, a massage client, come in for the very first time, and I was preparing tea just like we're doing here today. And I set the cup in front of him and poured the cup, and he was hesitant to take a sip. And I said, "Oh, you don't drink tea?" And he says, "No, I drink green tea all the time because I know it's good for me." And I said, "Well, give this one a try." And he took a sip of it, and his eyebrows raised up, and he went, "This is green tea?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, I've been drinking green tea for years because I heard it was good for me, but I thought because it was good for me, it was supposed to taste bad. So he had been drinking low quality green tea, and he's been a customer to this day. That was in 2007. And so here we are 11 years later, and he's drinking real tea, enjoying the experience that much more because it tastes good. If you have good clean water, real good leaf, and pay attention to a few of those variables, you can get a really good cup of tea. So I think part of what people resist with tea is that it just isn't as familiar yet.
Sure.
But it's getting more familiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think too, like you were talking about your clients, like sometimes people try and live healthier through like powders and things like that,
Yes.
like weight loss supplements and like, yeah, I don't even know I had some supplement that went in my smoothies after because I'm a long distance runner, used to be more of a long distance runner. And I was like, oh, this is so good for me.
Yeah.
But you step back and look at it and you're like, what am I putting into my body? You know, I should just have, milk or, like yogurt. Why are we doing these supplements? Or even I've seen, all kinds of weird powders and stuff out there. And, let's get down to what basic food elements and what that can do for our bodies, not
Yes.
these, vitamins and fish oil supplements and powders and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, and not that those things can't be useful for some times, for some people, some of the time. But yeah, it's in our culture in particular, we are looking for silver bullets, and we are looking for novelty, and we are easily distracted. Mm-hmm. And so when we are skillfully marketed to, we think, maybe this is the thing that's going to bring me to happiness or make me feel better. And really what it comes down to is just getting back to the basics.
Right.
Simplify.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that come back to? Well, it comes back to the purest form of whatever it is. Steam the kale. Just steam the kale.
Yeah.
And, and just good basic nutrition. And of course, I think also growing our foods organically and taking care of our soil and our water are of utmost importance. Mm-hmm. And that applies to tea as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so since you've been doing this for 13 years, you have a good idea of kind of what it takes to grow a business and maintain a business. So in your opinion, have there been kind of keys to keeping something like Mandala Tea running for 13 years? Kind of what have you learned along the way that's been beneficial?
Yes. Well, these days it's about an online presence. For sure.
Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about, you have a very active Instagram and Facebook account too.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing that. And a lot of people say, well, it doesn't look like you're selling a lot of tea. It doesn't look like you're really selling me a product on Instagram and Facebook. And I will put some posts out there about a certain tea or maybe a new newsletter that's come out. But really, I like to use the pages as an expression of, or I should say as an extension of, why we might want tea in the first place. Mm-hmm. That idea that, hey, we're all rushing around here and we're not really taking any time to just slow down and check in with ourselves. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the posts are reminders to self, for me, to continue to reinforce the idea that I too want peace, and I too want to come at life from that place of stillness. Mm-hmm. Tea is one of those vehicles. I'd rather see somebody buy 1 ounce of tea a month and really have a good experience with it, mm-hmm. really connect, than them buy 10 pounds a month from me. Yes, I'm in the business of selling tea, but I really, really think of myself more as a purveyor of an experience of connection. Mm-hmm. And tea is one of those vehicles that we can use to do that. So definitely the online presence and social media. The other thing is just plain and simple showing up, making tea for people, educating. Because once people see how incredibly simple this is,
Mm-hmm.
and how much better they feel, and how much more hydrated they feel versus some of the other compounds, I shouldn't say compounds, but I mean drinks, energy drinks, coffee, things like that. I'm not going to disparage those things. I don't talk badly about them. I do know, just because of being in tune to what my body feels like, just being aware and sensitive to what goes on in it. I do know that for me, coffee is, I just can't do it. It's too sharp. It's too much of a 1-2 punch to the kidney and the adrenals. And the reason is that tea has other compounds within it that help to temper the effects of the caffeine. So rather than that sharp spike up from the adrenals and then that downward slide that you get from energy drinks and coffee, tea enables us to, yes, we get a rise. Yes, we get a calm awake is what the Buddhists call it. So you get a slow ramp up and then a plateau effect and then a slow ramp down. So even people like myself who take tea fairly strongly, I don't feel the need to get my next fix.
Right.
I'm drinking tea because I like the flavors, I like the ritual aspect of it at times, and just the calmness that I get from the beverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say I'm a pretty hardcore coffee addict, at least in the morning. And one time I tried to wean myself off of it and not have it for 2 days. Massive headache.
Yep.
So it's really kind of scary when you think about it. But I still do coffee in the morning, tea noon and later, or 2 p.m. and later. And always at the end of the day, I have tea kind of to signal that it's time to, turn everything down.
Yeah.
Prepare for the next day. And, that's always been something that I've done. But, yeah, it gets scary when you're like, I'm having a headache from not having a beverage.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's withdrawal, right? Withdrawal,
Right.
That means we're an addict, just like you said. The thing, too, is that as we get older, as these bodies get older and the kidney and the adrenal action naturally declines after about the age of 35. If we're part of what we're making up for with the energy drinks and the coffee is that natural decline. We're trying to bring ourselves up to another level. We're also trying to compensate for the fact that we're not getting enough sleep. We're staying up too late. We've got artificial light around us all the time. Yeah. Our kidney and the adrenal action in our culture is declining more quickly because of all of that jitteriness coming at us all the time. And so if we're compensating with the coffee and the energy drinks and the stimulants, we're actually causing a more rapid decline of the kidney and the adrenal action. So just if people can replace, like you were talking about, if we can start replacing a cup of coffee with tea, and then enjoy that and learn to enjoy that feeling first, just to check in with what does it feel like to not have that jolt. Maybe I can be okay without that jolt and that idea of that kind of calm awake. Yes, I've got elevated consciousness and a little bit more spring in my step. Maybe I don't need the here I go.
Yeah, I never need that. Oh, man. So do you want to talk a little bit about the team that you have with Mandala Tea? So you mentioned Sarah, your business partner, I assume.
Yes, and she's a big tea drinker. Actually, we met because of tea. She had taken a tea class that I had done years ago, and became a tea customer, and now is working within the business, taking care of a lot of the day-to-day stuff, the office and the bookkeeping, and keeping track of all the online orders that come in and the wholesale orders, and then we have, even though they're not technically employed by Mandala Tea, we've got Will from Cafe
Yep.
Steam. He is our honorary photographer. A lot of the photography on the website is, well, most of it now is all his. So he's part of the team. And then AJ
Yep.
Petit, he has helped us significantly with developing the new website. Really helped breathe some new life into the tea business. There was a while there where I was thinking about giving up. I had closed the retail store that we had here in Rochester and was feeling really tired, really burned out, because the retail thing had taken all my resources and energy, and I didn't have it to put into other things like the online business, which was what I needed to do. And so when I closed that, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just find something else to do. But after speaking with AJ, and he helped breathe some fresh new life into the business, and we developed a new website together. We rebranded. He developed a new logo with us, and just really, really an exciting time. And now that we are fully back, since I guess it was August, we relaunched the new website, and this next year we'll see us adding video. I said education was one of the big pieces, that if we can just show people. So we're going to be adding some video onto the website so that people will have a place as a resource to come and say, oh, well, that's how you do it. That's all it takes. I'm going to get into this.
Yeah, no, I think that's the important part about talking about your business with other people, is that they have different perspectives.
Yes.
And can bring, like you were saying, new life.
Yes.
Into something that you look at every day.
Yes.
You do know your business better than anybody else, but
one can get lonely.
Yeah.
On their own, and one can stagnate without having those fresh ideas and excitement. So I think one of the things as far as business success is, for myself, is not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to ask somebody else to, hey, could you take a look at this? Because I'm having trouble in this area, and you're skilled in that area. So what do you think? What do you think I might do? And then you get these different perspectives. So that's part of the reason being in that building where Collider, the co-working space, is now, is so inspirational, because even though people are all working on their own thing, it's like everyone's working together too. And that's inspirational.
And you do have a lot of entrepreneurs on tea now instead of coffee.
Yes.
So you're slowly.
I love that.
It's education, right? It's education. That's for sure.
Yes. And we're going to start doing once a month tea in the afternoon up there at Collider.
That would be amazing. I know you did the yoga and then the tea service during, it was meditation.
Yep.
That's right. The meditation and tea service during Global Entrepreneurship Week. That would be really, I think, powerful, again, because like you said, it's like the lifestyle, the change. And
yes.
So, yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I look forward to that. Yeah, so just to wrap up, do you want to talk about where people can find your tea, either online or, I know it's served in the community here too, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Here in Rochester, places that, besides our website, which is mandalatea.com, which is MANDALATEA.com, that's where we have all our things available. There's also several places here in Rochester that retail some of our teas. For instance, Fiddlehead Coffee, and let's see, People's Food Co-op has quite a selection of our goods retail-wise. Cafe Steam also sells some of our items retail. And then there's places that serve by the cup and by the pot, like Fiddlehead, Abe's Coffee, Cafe Steam, People's Food Co-op Deli, Tonic Juice Bar and Cafe, and others coming soon here in Rochester too. And so the goods can be found there. And we've got an option now on the website for local folks. If they're on the website and they purchase there and they choose the pick up in person option, they can save on shipping too. So they can come to the building where the Blue Duck and Collider is and pick their goods up there.
Awesome. Well, I think it'll be an exciting year for Mandala Tea, and look forward to what you're going to do and to your weekly tea service. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm more pumped for the future of getting the word of tea out there, and because people in our culture, we are hungry for, not that this has to be a ritual or some planned out event every time. Like I said, sometimes I'm slamming big cups of coffee. Or I'm sorry, tea. I said coffee.
Like, what?
Big cups of tea in the morning to get hydrated before a run or a workout. But if I can give myself this gift of sitting with the tea, of sitting with these multiple infusions and just being quiet, that's really setting up my day, or sometimes calming a day that's already gone adrift or awry. It's bringing me back to the center. And I think in our culture, we are hungry for ritual. We are hungry with connection to self. We are hungry for being present.
Absolutely.
And this is a vehicle that can help us. And then we're more in tune to our breath. And once we start getting in tune to our breath, well, hey, what's this yoga stuff about? Maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Or meditation. Maybe I want to study this. These other things that we're learning about. So once we start wanting to lead a healthier, more peaceful life, other things fall into place, and we're led where we want to go, need to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this today and serving
pleasure.
some tea. It's, delicious. I really enjoyed it.
You gave me an excuse to have more tea.
Probably calmed me down going into the day. But yeah, thank you so much, Garret, for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you, Amanda.
All right, so thanks so much to Garret for sharing his story with us today and taking time to sit down and do this podcast. We'll have the link to his website in the podcast show notes, and be sure to follow him on Facebook and Instagram. And like he said, you can also find the Mandala Tea products throughout the Rochester community. So before we wrap up the podcast today, I just wanted to share one more story in a completely different field with some youthful medical entrepreneurs. So here is that story. Brothers and Rochester natives Keith and Kevin Kalmez are looking to take their business, Superior Medical Editing, to the next level. This nimble company provides customizable medical writing and editing services to make physicians more productive. Business for the brothers has taken off within the last 6 months. They are currently looking to nearly double their team to keep up with demand and continue to fulfill the evolving needs of their customers. The basic idea of Superior Medical Editing is quite simple. The business essentially is a connector, linking people who have research experience and time to those who have research needs. Incorporated in 2015, the company offers a suite of medical writing and editing services to increase research physicians' writing and publishing productivity. While the company can tailor their services to each customer, their real expertise is in medical writing, the creation of scientific documents such as case reports, journal manuscripts, and regulatory medical documents. Our vision is to take every bit of work that a non-expert can do off an expert's hands, explained Kevin Kalmez. When a physician is writing a paper, the physician should give physician-level input. They don't need to do anything below that. Beyond developing the main idea of the manuscript, gathering the data, and providing the methodology and final approval, the Superior Medical Editing team performs all of the paper writing process for the physician to help them submit more medical papers and have increased time for their patients. In addition to taking all the non-expert work off of a physician's plate, within our own organization, we never have someone doing something below his pay grade, explained Keith Kalmez. The Superior Medical Editing team utilizes a hierarchy of competence to draft, edit, and write medical documents, provide literature review, analyze and interpret data, and turn out statistics for medical papers. This hierarchy typically involves a team of 4, depending on the complexity of the manuscript, including a medical writer, who is the leading force on the paper, a research assistant, who does the bulk of the literature review and figure making, a biostatistician, and a highly specialized physician consultant. In the beginning stages of the business, Kevin thought he might be the sole medical writer, while brother Keith would bring in the clients for the business. The budding entrepreneurs quickly understood that a single medical writer, unless operating in a specific field in which they had lengthy experience, would not be very effective. If you want to do freelance, you cannot do it efficiently. You have to have a system, and you have to have a hierarchy of competency, explained Kevin. Currently, the brothers have 5 specialists who work day-to-day with Superior Medical Editing as either medical writers or research assistants to the medical writers. These positions are typically filled by graduate or recently graduated students from biomedical or biological science programs, or those looking to gain experience before medical school. The company also contracts with 10 physician specialists on a per-project basis for their specific expert input. The team is entirely virtual, although most contractors with Superior Medical Editing reside in the Twin Cities area. The business does have competitors, particularly the freelance medical writer, but no one is following quite the same path. Instead of providing medical writing services in all medical fields, the team is instead focused primarily in neurology, including neuroscience, neurosurgery, and neuroradiology, to provide hyper-specialized expertise. They have also expanded into radiology and orthopedic fields. A neurology focus was the perfect spot for the brothers to start. They grew up with the language of aneurysm and stroke from neurointerventional radiologist father David Calmez. Additionally, the brothers say this field usually includes physicians from the top of their medical class who are academically interested but don't have the time to churn out as much writing as they would desire. We came in thinking, what would a physician want to make their lives easier, explained Kevin Calmez. They did not want to teach physicians how to use another platform or another mobile application. We don't think that that's what's going to drive productivity gain, explained Keith. I think people have lost sight of humans helping other humans. Instead, the team sees themselves as extenders for physicians, helping them to submit 5 or 6 times as many medical papers each year with the same effort on the part of the physician. We don't think we're better than the physician. We think that we make the physician better, said Kevin. The business has experienced a massive inflection point over the past 6 months and is responding to customer needs by developing new services. We're very risk-avid, but we also like to see the payoff from what we're doing, explained Kevin. Their latest push involves development of an improved patient data management platform, which would dramatically enrich their overall business. Just like our writing service is intensely trying to help the individual physician write, we want something that intensely helps the individual physician manage their own data, Kevin explained. If the team received all the necessary data from the physician right away, the brothers predict they could complete a paper in 2 weeks instead of their current 60-day average. Most of this holdup is from communication friction, something they've had to tackle in dealings with both the physicians and their virtual writing team. The brothers say there's still much streamlining that could be done to make the process more efficient. Developing their management skills has been essential to overcome this issue, especially when dealing with people sometimes twice their age. We're always younger than people expect when we show up at a meeting with someone that we were collaborating with, explained Kevin. The brothers say they are strange ducks in medical entrepreneurship with non-traditional backgrounds. Kevin is a current law student at Duke University. Keith is a recent graduate from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities with a double major in economics and history. Now, the brothers are embarking on a major hiring push to hopefully double their staff within the next 3 months. We're very ambitious to expand our mission. We don't want to sit around and be a 5-person deal. We need to tap into that youthful energy, said Kevin. The team is looking to add on self-driven individuals with biological science training who want to begin writing. The brothers say this is excellent experience for anyone looking to develop their science career, especially those getting ready for medical school. For those interested in the position, please contact Superior Medical Editing via their Facebook page or by emailing the team at outreach@supedit.com. That's outreach@supedit.com. All right, so thanks to Keith and Kevin as well for sharing their story with us this week. And for more stories like this, you can check out our website at rochesterrising.org. So that's all we have today on the podcast. Thanks for tuning into the show today. And to never miss a story of entrepreneurship or innovation coming out of Rochester, Minnesota, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you here again next week.